Hello and welcome back to the Grand Prix World Series. My name is Topher Smith and today it's to Potrero de los Funes in Argentina. The circuit's making its debut on the Grand Prix World Series calendar today and we can't wait to see what it has in store for us. As ever, we will start off with League 2 and let's remind us of the drivers and team standings heading into today. At the top of the pile, Nick de Vries, after taking Toyota's first ever victory in the Grand Prix World Series time out, he leads the way on 39 points, 6 ahead of Gabriele Mini, who took victory in season opener at Road America. Roman Grosjean and Luke Browning are on 30 each, ahead of Colton Herta and Igor Fraga, who have 29 points each. And then Yeyefe on 27, Rio Hirakawa on 19, Felix Rosenqvist, our reigning champion, on 14, and Jamie Chadwick propping up the top 10 on 12 points. As for the teams, Spiker leading the way by one single point over Toyota, 59 points, place 58. Those two looking like the early favourites for the title at the moment. Bimoto KRT are third on 37, ahead of Ram on 35. Simtek in fifth. Simtek could have won a race this season had it not been for reliability issues. As it is, they are on 30 points, 3 ahead of Prema on 27, Iron Dames on 19, 40 Corsa on 15, Mazda and Zach Speed on 12 each, and then Chip Ganassi on 4, Opel on 1, and M Sport still to get off the mark this season, so they will be hoping to finish in the top 10 here in Potrero de los Funes. Before we run you down the grid order, we have a few driver changes to make note of for today's League 2 race. And let's start off with the Opel team, where they have a double driver change. Mitch Evans and Nick Cassidy both dropped from the lineup, with Daniel Kvyat and Joel Eriksson coming on board instead, in an attempt for the team to rejuvenate what has been an awful start to their campaign. Maybe some fresh blood, the right way to go for the team there. And with Nick Cassidy leaving the lineup, he has been picked up by Mazda, the team that ran him last season. So a bit of a homecoming for the New Zealander, returning to David Yunt's team, and he will line up alongside Scott McLaughlin, his fellow Kiwi, as well. Cassidy is there in place of Sho Suboy, who will stay with the team as the reserve driver. Over at Simtek, the team manager James Knox has elected to give Finn McLaughlin, the Irish youngster, a go in the car. Not because Dan Tickton was doing a bad job or anything, but just to give McLaughlin a trial run to see how he gets on before James Knox makes a final decision on what his lineup might be for the rest of the season. And finally, over at M Sport, the only team to not pick up any points yet, they have dropped Sebastian Ogier down to the reserve role, and Sharma Lacey will make his Grand Prix World debut in his place today. He will be looking for points at his first attempt to please team manager Lorenzo Turi. So with all those driver changes out of the way, let's take a look at the qualifying results. And following up his victory in Curitiba, Nick de Vries has put it on pole position here in Potrero de los Funes, looking to make it 2 wins in a row for himself and the Toyota team, qualifying a tenth of a second ahead of the Spiker pair of Roman Grosjean and Colton Herta. Yeyefe fourth in the Prema, ahead of Joel Eriksson, who on debut today qualifies 5th, a great result by him. Rio Hirakawa in the second Toyota, 6th and over a quarter of a second off the pace. He wasn't too happy with that, and he will look to make up the difference in the race. Finn McLaughlin on his debut, 7th in the Simtek, ahead of Felix Rosenqvist, Mick Schumacher and Gabriele Mini, one of our championship contenders, also in the top 10. Daniel Kvyat on his return to the grid will start 11th in the Opel, ahead of Luke Browning and Pato Ward, 13th in the Ram Racing. Leonardo Fornaroli 14th alongside Dorian Pan and Antonio Giovinazzi. Ayumu Iwasa 17th alongside Joseph Newgarden, and then the 2 Kiwis of Earl Bamber and Nick Cassidy. Cassidy qualifying 20th on his return to Mazda, just ahead of his teammate Scott McLaughlin in 21st, and then Igor Fraga, Sharma Lacey 23rd on his debut, ahead of Jamie Chadwick, Steph Dusseldorp and Philippe Salaquada, the 2 Zach Speeds once again propping up the field here today. So can Nick de Vries make it 2 wins from 2 for the Toyota team? Well, there's only one way to find out. Let's head over to the commentary box and hand things over to Tom Cairns, who is ready and waiting to call this one. So Tom, over to you.
Nick de Vries took Toyota's first ever win in the Grand Prix World Series last time out in Curitiba. Can he become the first back-to-back winner this season? We'll find out in Argentina at Potrero de los Funes. Lights are on. Lights off, it's go. It's a good start from de Vries. Holding up Roman Grosjean on the way to the first left-hander of the course. So he leads the way ahead of the Spiker, and up into 3rd place is Rio Hirakawa. It's leapt up from 6th up to the top 3. And we look at Grosjean, who's attacking Nick de Vries on the way down to turn number 4. Grosjean with the inside line, and it's the Spiker who takes over leadership ahead of the Toyota. So it's Spiker who leads. It's the 2 Toyotas of de Vries and Hirakawa fighting over second place, and Hirakawa gets in front of de Vries. So de Vries has lost 2 positions in as many corners. It's the best start possible for the man who went out in Aruba a couple of rounds ago. That name is Romain Grosjean. And they'll look at Yiafi, who's on the tail of Joel Eriksson, who's debuting this round for Opel. He's into 4th position, and Yiafi is doing his utmost to get the position back, of which he lost a few corners ago. So Grosjean leads the way. It's Hirakawa and de Vries in 2nd and 3rd. Joel Eriksson for Opel in 4th. Yiafi 5th, and it's the 2nd Spiker of Colton Herta in 6th position. Then it's Thea McLaughlin, who's debuting this round in place of Dan Tipton. He's in 7th place. Then we've got Felix Rosenquist, Mick Schumacher, and Danny Kafia, who is returning to the series for the first time since the end of season 4. It's a long lap round here of Potrero de los Funes. 6.2 kilometres in total. Grosjean is coming around to complete the first lap in the lead. Can he keep it for the remainder? Ryu Hirakawa is determined to get his first win of the season. The last one for him came in Kyalami when he was a Minardi driver in League 1 last season. Leo Fornaroli's made a promising start in the M spot, up into 11th place after starting 14th. You've got Luke Browning, who's gone in for 3 podiums in a row today, with Pato Ward 13th, Gabriele Mini 14th, and it's the Chip Ganassi of Joseph Newgarden in 15th position. No retirements yet, but there's a long way to go. There goes Herta on the inside of Yiafi. That's down over at turn number 9, and the American has made his way up the order, and the man who is destined to make his Formula 2 debut this year is making his way up into 5th place. Further ahead, we can see Joel Eriksson giving de Vries a very difficult time of it. It could be the fact that de Vries is running a heavier fuel load compared to his counterparts. But either way, his pace may explain why he could be doing a one-stop. And there is a retirement for Antonio Giovinazzi in the 40, and he pulls off with a front suspension failure. At least he's out of everyone's way. Lap 2, and we have our first retirement. That is the Italian. Not the best of starts for team manager Dave Goddard. Further ahead, we see Luke Browning in 12th position behind Leo Fornaroli, who's determined to get M Sport's first points in the Grand Prix World Series in only their 4th race. Further, we can see some overtaking happening. I think that was that Felix Rosenquist fighting with Thea McLaughlin. I couldn't quite see. Now, we can say that Joseph Newgarden has been in front of Gabriele Mini now. He's up into 14th. On lap number 3, Grosjean with the fast lap of the race so far, with a 1:38.4. No, Grosjean has won for Pacific. He's won for Manor. He's already got a victory under his belt with Spiker, having the best season in a long time, if not ever, in the Grand Prix World Series. Now, there have been a considerable number of driver changes. It's been a double change at Opel, where Topher Smith has decided to drop both Mitch Evans and Nick Cassidy. Danny Kvyat and Joel Eriksson are in their places for the foreseeable future. Mentioned that Thea McLaughlin's in place of Dan Tipton at Simtech. Sebastian Ogier has been replaced by Charles Malaysi at M Sport. And finally, Sho Suboy has been replaced by Nick Cassidy. Sho Suboy staying on as reserve at Mazda. There goes Luke Browning on the move past Leo Fornaroli at turn number 2, and he's to do into 11th position. And further ahead we can see Colton Herter going through on Joel Eriksson, as is Thea McLaughlin on Yiffy. Plenty of overtaking happening here at Potrero de los Fines, that has hosted a round in the Nations Cup in its inaugural season. It's the first time the Grand Prix World Series is contesting this circuit, and I think it's safe to say it has put on a brilliant spectacle so far, and this is only the 4th lap of the first of 2 races we've got lined up for you today. The League 1 race is to come later. Felix Rosenquist pushes Yiffy further down the order, with the Swede moving up into 7th place and the Chinese driver down to 8th. Right on board with Nick de Vries, who has got Colton Herter on his tail now. So it's Spiker, Toyota, Toyota, Spiker in the top 4. Got Joel Eriksson in 5th place, Thea McLaughlin doing a stellar job so far. The Irishman who has shone in the Formula 4 series, who's been competing in 2025. Of course, he'll be racing in Formula 3 for the high-tech TGR squad, and he is part of Red Bull's junior team as well. So another young prospect from the Republic of Ireland. We're on lap number 5 now. You can just see further down the order, no one has had to make an early trip to the pit lane, which is good. And there we see old Bamber going for a spin in the Chip Ganassi. His wretched start to the season continues. This was over at turn number 3. Oh, he went so far out wide. Caught the barrier. He's having to wait for the traffic to go on through. Now, Earl Bamber, who won a couple of times last season for Jaguar. He's failed to finish in the first 2 races. He was classified as a finisher last time out in Curitiba, despite retiring. And we just saw an overtake. That is Colton Herter going through on Nick de Vries. That move had been coming all along, I think. And so the American is past the Dutchman. Herter up to 3rd position. And Spiker have 2 cars in the top 3. A very encouraging start for team manager Ben Hackerson. And Boromir Hirakawa, who is destined to feature in a number of Formula 1 free practice sessions again this year. A practice session for Alpine at Suzuka in 2025 before he switched over to Haas. Very, very talented driver, 31 years of age, but to be honest with you, he's been performing like he's still a youngster, is young Rio. Lap number 6, we won't be too far away from pit stops. We expect the 2 stoppers to pit around lap 11 or lap 12, and the 1 stoppers come around lap 18 or 19. And Gabriel Mini has passed the Ram of Pato Award. Gabriel Mini, who is one of the 6 race winners in the Grand Prix World Series this season. Pato Award is losing another place at the expense of Joseph Newgarden. He's having a better race of it here than what his teammate is doing so far. Chip Ganassi with only 4 points on the board already after 3 rounds. Now, if Newgarden and Bamber are going to repeat what they had done at Jaguar last season, they've got to get the ball rolling very, very soon. let's have a rundown on the setups then. The teams who have gone for the neutral setup, they are 40, Mazda, Chip Ganassi, IM Danes, Toyota, Ram, Prema, Simtek, Opel and M-Sport. And those who have gone for the mid-downforce setup, they are Zack Speed, Promoter and Spiker. Brilliant dice for position there between Danica Fiat and Yiafi, and it's the Opel who has the upper hand on the Prema. Not for long though, the Prema is coming back on the inside, Yiafi on the attack again. And Yi goes back through into 9th position. There we look at Nick de Vries, who's slowing in the Toyota. The pole sitter is going to be out of the race on lap number 7. We'll never know what strategy he would have been on. It's a loose wheel on the front right that sidelines the Dutchman. The 5-time race winner of this championship is out of the Lead 2 Potrero de los Funes Grand Prix. Second driver to retire. You can just see, is that old Bamber trying to go through on Steph Dusseldorp? I think he tried to go by him actually, considering all the traffic that is ahead of him. There we go, back with Colton Herter. And De Vries' retirement has allowed Joel Eriksson to go up another place, and I think that's the IM Dames of Jamie Chadwick, who's running into some sort of issue here. A lock-up from Scott McLaughlin ahead. But Jamie Chadwick is holding the field. Yeah, I think Chadwick's got a problem here. I don't know what it is, but that IM Dames is not going as quick as it should be. It's performing quite kind of weird if you ask me. We'll find out exactly what it is in a moment, but Grosjean is in the lead by nearly 3 seconds. Further back, we look at Luke Browning and Danica Fiat, who are in a fight of their own. Yiafi has scampered up the road a little bit, but Fiat is back through on the inside of Luke Browning for 9th position as Chadwick makes her way back to the pit lane. Dorian Pan, teammate, is up in 15th position. Grosjean still holds the fast up of the race at 138.4. Look back at Igor Fraga, who's had a strong start to the season, assisted in 6th place in the Drivers' Championship with 29 points, including a podium finish at the season opener at Road America. Herter already has his first podium this season as well. That came in Aruba with a 2nd place finish as part of the Spiker 1 and 2. And there we look at Dorian Pan, who makes a lock-up at the hairpin of turn number 18. She was lucky to keep going nevertheless. We're approaching the quarter-way mark in this Lead 2 Potrero de los Funes Grand Prix. Grosjean is 2.9 seconds clear over Ryo Hirakawa, who's carrying all of Mike Gillespie's hopes of achieving 2 wins in a row, but it's not going to be de Vries on the top step this time. There goes Steph Dusseldorp on Scott McLaughlin, or so he thought. Now we're looking at Otto Ward. It's further up. I think Nick Cassidy has dropped down the order a little bit. He's just been overtaken by Fraga. Now we turn back to Colton Herter in P3. Danica Fiat. He's had quite a career in the Grand Prix World Series with where he's been racing for. Race for the likes of Pacific. He's also raced for Mastercard Lola and Onyx. And Luke Browning is not going to make it a hat-trick of podium finishes. He is the next to pull out of the race. There's one of James Knox's cars out of it. And it's a gearbox failure that forces the Brit to retire. There we look at Jamie Chadwick, who is perhaps going to use this race as a test session now because she's so far behind the field. Between Grosjean and Hirakawa is 3.3 seconds. Not far away from the first round of pit stops. We are in lap 10. So we might start to see a car or two come in at the end of this one. Hirakawa in second position, Hertz third. Joel Eriksson doing a tremendous job for Opel up in fourth place. Whilst his teammate Kvyat is running in ninth. There goes El Bamba on that's Philip Salaquada, my apologies. Bamba through into 21st place. The driver he'll be chasing is Scott McLaughlin. And there is Dorian Pan closing in on Charles Mallacy. Also had an impressive debut so far. His teammate Leo Fornarelli's made it into the top 10 now. M Sport chasing for their first points in the Grand Prix World Series, and we've got pit stop now over at M Sport, as well as Chip Ganassi, because Joseph Newgarden and Sean Mallacy are both in. Engine blow up ahead. Is that Ryo Hirakawa? It looked like a Toyota engine that's gone up in smoke. We need to go and see what's happening. It is the Toyota Ryo Hirakawa. After the heroics in Curitiba, Toyota are not going to make it to the checkered flag at all. It's Ryo Hirakawa who is out of the race. And it's advantage Spiker. It's now 1 and 2 for them. Lap 11. And it's a sorry sight for Mike Gillespie. But considering the amount that's been put into brake horsepower and downforce, it's not that much of a surprise to see the cars break down in the way they have done here. Ryo Hirakawa retires from the lead to Potrero de los Funes Grand Prix on lap 11. And we've got a pit stop over at Spiker because Colton Herter has made his way into the pit lane, which allows Felix Rosenquist through into second place for now. And Danny Kvyat also in for Opel, as is Gabriel Mini for Bimota. There is Hirakawa pulled off, or being pulled away now by the marshal. The car is lifted over the barrier. Hertz is able to rejoin in some clear air, which could help him later. It is Grosjean who leads the way by country distance now. I tell you what, if either of the Spikers do hit trouble later, it's anyone's game for the win. And I seriously mean anyone's. Gabriele Mini, who has Joseph Newgarden on his tail. Newgarden pitted the lap before. He wasn't able to get an undercut completed on Mini that time around. And so he remains behind the Italian. And there is Philip Salaquada, who's passed by Danny Kvyat. Kafia not hanging around, getting on with the job. Yumi Iwasa is the next one up. It's around about 5 seconds up the road. Roman Grosjean into the pit lane, as is Felix Rosenqvist for 40. And into the lead on debut goes the Mazda of Ian McLaughlin. An incredible sight for David Young. It's a long time since he's seen one of his drivers at the front, but it's not going to be Igor Fraga's day. First retirement of the season for the Brazilian. And it's back to the drawing board for team boss Ross McGregor. That is retirement number 5 of the race. That's one of the Rams out. Nick Cassidy and Dorian Pan have both made their way into the pits for their first of 2 stops. And there we see Joseph Newgarden on the tail of Scott McLaughlin. Newgarden goes through this time, and McLaughlin, who has yet to stop in this race, is tumbling down the order. And there we see Sharma Lacey through on the inside of the Kiwi. He's through into 14th. Roman Grosjean right on board with this, running in 6th position after his first pit stop. He's out in front of his teammate Colton Herzer. Grosjean has clear track ahead of him, so it shouldn't be too much of an issue for the Frenchman, who's gunning for his 2nd win of the campaign. And into the pit lane comes Ian McLaughlin from the lead. And we've got another driver on debut to lead a lap. That name is Joel Eriksson in the Opel. It's the first time that an Opel has led a Grand Prix World Series race in only their 4th outing. Yaffe up into 2nd, Leo Fornaroli up to 3rd for M Sport. Roman Grosjean is now 4th because Pato Ward has made his way into the pit lane. Danny Kafia is continuing to make his way up the order as well. And Ian McLaughlin rejoins in 10th place behind Mick Schumacher and Iyumu Iwasa. There we see Yaffe trying to get Prema's season back on track. He haven't won in the Grand Prix Series since Phillip Island in season 4, where Louis Foster made it back-to-back wins to finish off Prema's promotion campaign. Their time in League 1 would prove to be short-lived. Nick Cassidy going through on Scott McLaughlin. And McLaughlin, who is yet to stop in this race, is continuing to struggle. Maybe on the one stop though. There's Yaffe, nearly 4 seconds off the lead of Joel Eriksson. It's Leo Fornaroli having the best race of his career so far, in 3rd. And it's Yeek who comes in, as is Eriksson, and Fornaroli has decided that he needs to come in. So we have the more familiar story up front. Grosjean leading and Herta 2nd. Spiker 1 and 2. Felix Rosenqvist will go up into 3rd place. And it will be Danny Kafia at 4th, who is yet to stop. Mick Schumacher's up to 5th. Ian McLaughlin 6th. He's got in front of Joel Eriksson, who's just someone down behind Gabriele Mini. And there is the reigning Grand Prix World Series champion, Felix Rosenqvist. Can he get 40's 2nd ever victory in this series? Luke Browning took the team's first at Indianapolis a couple of seasons ago. feels like the undercut is effective around here because of how much time you can gain over the course of a single lap. And there we see Mini fighting with Ericsson, and he hasn't stopped in this race. Ericsson just did on the last lap. And then we look at the Swede, Felix Rosenqvist. And just to correct myself, Fear McLaughlin is in the Simtek, not the Mazda. It's Nick Cassidy and Scott McLaughlin who are both in the Mazdas. Fear McLaughlin doing a superb job for Simtek. Up in 6th place. Joel Ericsson's now in front of Gabriele Mini, 4th position. And Fear McLaughlin now has the fastest up of the race, taking it away from Roman Grosjean, who's continuing to lead. And Yifei has had to come into the pits again. So an issue presumably for Prema and for the Chinese driver. And that has hurt his race big time and his chances for points. Beto Ward, the Mexican, on a move past the promoter of Yuma Iwasa. Nick Cassidy is the next driver behind who is going to take advantage of Iwasa's loss of momentum. He isn't able to do so that time around. He remains in 15th. Gabriele Mini getting in 8th position. Next one behind him is Charles Malaysia, who has impressed so far in this, as is Leo Fornaroli. Now, not only have M Sport yet to score a point this season, they've yet to register a race finish. Team manager Lorenzo Churi had very little to spend in the upgrade window, which opened after the last round in Curitiba. Look at Grosjean in the lead, nearly 6 seconds clear, and Joel Eriksson now has the fastest up of the race. Away from Fear McLaughlin, who's now in 4th position on debut. Feels like it's been a brilliant day for the debutants so far. Fear McLaughlin up in. Just wait for the timing tower to update. You can just see at the back of the field here if you drop into the back. Fear McLaughlin up in 4th place, Joel Eriksson 7th, and Charles Malaysia in 9th. See one of the sack speeds going through. That will have been Philip Salaquada overtaking Scott McLaughlin, who's now lost another place at the expense of Jamie Chadwick. The only driver behind McLaughlin now is Yifei, who's pitted twice. And there goes Yifei. Rosenqvist, who is not too far behind Herta. He's left Fear McLaughlin and Danica Fiat for dead, so we can just focus on putting the spikers under pressure. Now Danica Fiat, who's running in 5th place, is doing a stellar job on his return to the Grand Prix Series. He's looking to see who is going to put in the next lap or two, those on the 1 stops. We'll find out exactly in due course. Seven seconds the margin between Grosjean and Herta. Joseph Newgarden is running in 10th position. He has made a pit stop. Charles Malaysia ahead of him has made a pit stop. Rosenquist is keeping the gap to under 4 seconds as Jamie Chadwick locks up further behind. She's been passed by Yiafi, who's now going after Philip Salaquada. Five drivers out of the race so far. Igor Fraga, Ria Hirakawa, Luke Browning, Nick de Vries and Antonio Giovinazzi. Grosjean continuing to stretch the margin over Herta, just under 7.7 seconds. Joel Eriksson is on the move here, trying to go through on Mick Schumacher, doesn't do it into turn 2. If he gets the drive out of 3, he might get alongside by the time he gets to the next braking, so he's a little too far back, I think, to even think about going for a move there. If he can wait maybe one more corner, he could just do it over where Rosenquist has just gone through. There he goes, look, Eriksson through on Schumacher. As Yuma Waza makes his way into the pit lane for Promoter. Scott McLaughlin has decided that he needs a new set of tyres. As we see, Bubba overtaking Steph Dusseldorp to go into the top 15. It really has been a disappointing start to the season for Kieran McGinley's Chip Ganassi team. We've had hopes for a lot more. 4 points after 3 rounds. Neither of the cars are in the points here. But that could all change. We're now at the halfway point in the race. And Rosenquist is slowly getting the gap down. It was 3.1 seconds in sector 2. Herta, see the gap come down just under 2.9. Eriksson is going for it here on Danny Kafia, and he is through that time around. Eriksson absolutely flying in this race. Now that he's got by him, can he go after Fia McLaughlin? And there goes Yiafi through on Philip Salaquada, or so he thought. He might get him on the pit straight though. Pulls out of the Czech Republican's slipstream on the inside at turn 2. No way through for the Chinese driver there. He might get the run out of 3. Preparation for turn 4. Here he goes, look. And that's Yi through into 17th position. Very, very nice move. And there is Danny Kvyat pulling out. The Opel retires. Heartbreak for Topher Smith. Danny Kvyat, on his return to the Grand Prix World Series, has pulled out of the race on lap 20. Gearbox failure. And we've got another one dropping out. That's Steph Dusseldorp in the sack speed. The reliability really is kicking in here. And it looks like a throttle problem for Steph Dusseldorp. Couldn't get the car slowed down. It's out of everyone's way though. And so the Dutchman goes no further. It's a throttle issue, as stated. Mick Schumacher and Gabriele Mini have both come into the pit lane for their only stops. Where will they filter back out? As they will look at Nick Cassidy heading through on Joseph Newgarden. That puts him into the points. Schumacher rejoins behind El Bumba. Mini is out behind Yearfeet in 15th. And we look at Felix Rosenquist, who's got the gap down to 2 seconds on Colton Herta. 19 cars left in the race now. We're on lap 21. 17 laps to go. Is Romain Grosjean going to take a 4th Grand Prix World Series win and his 2nd in 3 races. The gap between Herta and Rosenquist has come down a little bit more. It's 1.7 seconds in sector 2. They come, and the gap is less than 1.6. It's going to come down to the pit stops, I think. We expect the second round of pit stops to arrive around about lap 24 or lap 25. Leo Fornaroli comes into the pits for M Sport. The British team going to get their first points in the Grand Prix Series today. We can see a move from one of the Rams on the other M Sport. Potrero Ward fighting with Charles Malaysia. They are 7th and 8th on the road. And through goes Potrero Ward on Charles Malaysia. McLaughlin in the Simtech, continuing to have a strong debut so far. It's just 2 seconds behind Rosenquist now, so it's perhaps no wonder that Rosenquist has been given the hurry up to pull away from him and close in on Herta. Joel Eriksson isn't far behind. So looking possibly at a 4-way battle for second place in this race. And we've got pit lane activity over at Spiker. Romain Grosjean is in. Felix Rosenquist is also in his attempt of an undercut on Colton Herta. Fia McLaughlin goes through into second place and Joel Eriksson is in the pits as well. Which should allow Dorian Pan to go through into third place potentially. In fact, it's Romain Grosjean who gets out in third place. Rosenquist will come out behind Potrero Ward, and that's not good news in his attempt to get by Herta in the stops. There goes Leo Fornaroli, and that's Philip Salaquada he's overtaken at the last braking zone of the lap. Look at Potrero Ward's rear wing. Behind him is Felix Rosenquist, who has just pitted. Now, if Rosenquist can get on with it, might just get him down this back straight. He'll be in the slipstream. Is he close enough to have a go? He's not. And this will hurt him in the remaining corners of the lap, unless he was to get by him rather swiftly. Yearfeet was pitted twice in this one. He's running in P11. It's uncertain whether he'll go for another stop before this race is over. But even if he doesn't, he's going to struggle to keep back the pack. Herta has stayed out another lap. Fia McLaughlin has decided to come in for his last stop. Rosenquist has got by O'Ward for 5th place, which will now become 4th. So he can attempt to maybe go for a fast lap, but the trouble he'll have is Dorian Pan, who has yet to make her last trip to the pit lane. I would expect Rosenquist to get past Pan over at turn 4. Have a look at Old Bamba, who's passed by Leo Fornaroli. And Rosenquist has got past Pan now as well for 3rd place. So the Swedish driver determined to get an undercut completed on Colton Herter. There is the American. He doesn't have any back markers to worry about, which for a course like this is helpful. And there is Dorian Pan, running in 4th place in the Iron Dames. Pole sitter, of course. Last time out at Curitiba. Finished in P7 in the end, which she felt was rather disappointing considering the number of cars that finished the race. She felt maybe a podium was theirs, was hers for the taking, I should say. And there we look at Grosjean. Herter still hasn't come in. I wonder if Herter, is he staying out? Is he on the one stop? Surely he can't be on the one stop. If he is on the one stop, there's no question that Grosjean's going to gobble him up. He's getting the gap down at such a rate, I cannot see him holding on. Joel Eriksson has passed Potrero Award for 5th position. Dorian Pan is the next driver up the road. And Nick Cassidy is coming to the pits for Mazda on his return. Down the back straight they come. Grosjean has been able to take a second out of Herter's lead in that first sector alone. With a number of corners in the second sector, I wouldn't be at all surprised if he took at least 2 seconds out of the gap. And there goes Eriksson on Pan for 4th position. He is through. Ian McLaughlin is the next driver behind Pan. The gap between Herter and Grosjean is down to 6.7. Charles Malaysia is fighting with Salaquada for 14th. Yearfeet on the tail of Joseph Newgarden for the final point. Now, Gabriel Mini and Mick Schumacher have made their one and only stops in this. Colton Herter has remained out there in the lead. Ian McLaughlin has passed Dorian Pan now because Pan has gone into the pits for her last stop. Will rejoin outside of the points, maybe even outside the top 15. Charles Malaysia is going to move up to 12th place. El Bamba is in for his last trip. And there we see the spikers in your picture. Grosjean just 4.1 off the lead now. There's no way that Herter is going to hold on. The way Grosjean has been able to get down the gap. Now, if Herter was to pit in now, he would rejoin behind Joel Eriksson and probably behind Ian McLaughlin as well. And there's a lock-up from Felix Rosenquist, keeps it out of the barrier. He'll lose him time. Not going to do the tyres any world of good. We've got pit stop at Spiker. Herter is in, which hands the lead back to his teammate. There goes Pan on Salaquada. She's not wasting any time, and Joel Eriksson won't be wasting any time in this race because his debut is about to end with what looks like a gearbox issue. And that's a sorry sight for Topher Smith, because this has been a more promising showing from the German team. But it's going to be just the fast lap point at most. But it depends on whether anyone else out there can go quicker and take that away from him. Potrero Ward, Joseph Newgarden and Yiafi are in for their final stops. Joel Eriksson goes no further, which promotes Theo McLaughlin up into 3rd position. And with Hertzer coming out of the pit lane on his fresher set of boots, he's probably going to be going after Theo McLaughlin and passing him before this race is over. Jamie Chadwick is in for her last stop. Her teammate Dorian Pan is now back into the points in 9th position. Eriksson is out of the race. Both of the Opals going no further. Felix Rosenquist in 2nd position in the 40. Over 6 seconds ahead of Theo McLaughlin. Colton Hertzer is in 4th. Mick Schumacher is in 5th. Again, it's Gabriele Mini, Leo Fornarelli, Charles Malaysi in 8th. Dorian Pan 9th and Nick Cassidy in 10th. Both of the M Sports inside the points, which is great to see. As it stands, they'll be leapfrogging Opel and Chip Ganassi up to 11th. They'll be off the foot of the table. Now we look at Earl Bamber, who's behind Scott McLaughlin. Potrero Ward, who was just pitted, is running in P11 ahead of Ayumu Iwaza. Grosjean's lead over Rosenquist is 15 seconds. It's a comfortable one for the Frenchman. And there is Bamber, heading by Scott McLaughlin for 15th. Rosenquist in 2nd place. 15 seconds off the lead. Colton Hertzer is 2.5 seconds off Theo McLaughlin. Slowly but surely getting the gap down. Nine laps to go. Roman Grosjean on his way to his 2nd win of the season, the first repeat winner of Season 6. But he's on fire! The car is on fire! Roman Grosjean is out! The man dominating this race! He's not going to make it to the checkered flag at all! A huge twist! And we have a new race leader in Felix Rosenquist. The battle for the win is on. Grosjean won't be a part of it. Roman Grosjean retires from the lead to Potrero de los Funes Grand Prix. It's advantage 40. Theo McLaughlin on debut is up to 2nd for Simtech. And Colton Hertz is up into 3rd place by pissing late. He needs to pass the Simtech and the 40 if he is to leave here as the new championship leader. Hertzer is less than 1.3 off Theo McLaughlin. Mick Schumacher is in 4th place now in the Premier, having a better run. What a moment this would be for James Knox if he sees his new driver holds on here ahead of the spiker. It'll be 8 long laps for him to hold on. And the gap is coming down to less than 6 seconds between Rosenqvist and McLaughlin. So whilst McLaughlin and Herter are in a tussle amongst themselves for the runner-up spot, they're both closing in on Rosenqvist. Nine drivers out of the race: Roman Grosjean, Joel Eriksson, Steph Dusseldorp, Danny Kvyat. We've also lost Ryo Hirakawa, Luke Browning, Nick de Vries, Antonio Giovinazzi, and Igor Fraga. And there we see McLaughlin and Herter nose to tail in second and third. Herter is on the fresher rubber compared to the Irishman. Is Herter en route to what could be his first ever victory in the Grand Prix World Series? Oh, that's a mistake for McLaughlin, and he nearly runs into Herter on his way into the pit lane. That would have been very, very dramatic. He caught the curb on the outside towards the last braking zone of the lap, and as he peeled into the pit lane, he nearly took Herter with him. That was dangerous and so close to an enormous accident. Herter is through into second place. McLaughlin just went a little too deep, missed the apex slightly, and nearly took out the American. A third trip to the pits for Theo McLaughlin, and that's such a shame because he could have been fighting for the win. With 7 laps remaining, 6 seconds is the margin between Rosenqvist in the lead and Herter in second. And we look at Philip Siliquado, who's in 16th position behind the Mazda of Scott McLaughlin, and up to third place now is Mick Schumacher. It's a long time since we've seen him in the top 3. The last time he was in the top 3 in any Grand Prix World Series race, you have to go all the way back to San Carlos in season 3. He finished third for Prema on that occasion. Herter has got the gap down to 5.1 seconds by sector 2 on Rosenqvist. You could just see him. You saw him in the foreground. And there we see Albamba with Ayumu Iwasa. The New Zealander is going through on the Japanese into 13th. Theo McLaughlin's stop got him back out in 8th position, but he's on the tail of both Pan and Malaysia. And surely McLaughlin's going to go through on Malaysia and Pan in a moment. Rosenqvist's gap on Herter is 4.5 seconds. There goes McLaughlin on Malaysia for P7. McLaughlin will just get the hammer down and try and recover what's been lost. .9 seconds in sector 1 between Rosenqvist and Herter. Could it end up being a drag race to the line? Just like what we saw in the League 1 race at Road America earlier this season. Leo Fornaroli up to 5th place now for M Sport. Both cars are inside the points. And there is Potrero Ward on Nick Cassidy. The Mexican heading through on the keyway into 9th. Phil McLaughlin is still stuck behind Dorian Pan. And there is Rosenquist. Looks like he missed a gear there at that last corner. McLaughlin has got by Pan for P6. Gap between Rosenquist and Herter is 2.7. With 5 laps to go. Schumacher, who's got a few seconds in hand over Gabriele Mini, is in 3rd position. This will be Prema's 2nd podium finish of the season in their pursuit for an immediate return to League One. The top 3 teams in League 2 will go up to League 1 for Season 7, paving the way for 3 teams in League 1, the bottom 3 teams in League 1, to head down to League 2 for the next campaign. Herter has Rosenquist in his sights. Dave Goddard, the team manager of 40, will be feeling nervous right here and now. 1.4 seconds is the gap. But to be honest with you, you don't need me to tell you the gap. You could just see the pair of them in your picture. Mick Schumacher doing a tremendous job in this race, making the one-stop work. Starting 9th on the grid, he's made his way up into 3rd place. It's been a stellar drive from Mick. Charles Malaysia, who's gone up from 23rd to 8th in this one. There could be more to come. And that's Jamie Chadwick going through on Scott McLaughlin's. Nick Cassidy locks up in front of Yia Feet. 6 tenths is the margin between Rosenquist and Herter at the end of the previous lap. And Herter's through on Rosenquist! Herter has overtaken Rosenquist for the lead! There he is! At turn number 4, Colton Herter passes Felix Rosenquist for the lead of the League 2 Potrero de los Funes Grand Prix on lap 34. The Spiker is on his way to his first Grand Prix World Series win. That is Colton Herter's, and it'll be Spiker's 2nd in only their 4th race in the GPWS. Yia Feet has got through on Nick Cassidy, can't hold him back any longer. Further ahead, Theo McLaughlin has passed Leo Fonarelli for 5th place. Has he got enough time to go after Gabriele Mini? He should do. Gap between Mini and McLaughlin is already 3.6. McLaughlin will be on much fresher tyres than Mini. He might even get back to the podium places if he's lucky. And Leo Fornarelli doing a superb job in the M Sport. After qualifying 14th to get up to 5th place, it's been a super effort from Lorenzo Churi's team, who haven't picked up a race finish this season, let alone a point. They are on course for 12 as it stands, with Patrowod overtaking Sean Malaysia up to 8th. The gap between Mini and McLaughlin has come down to less than 2.1. Guillermo Wazza is stopped behind Philip Salaquada. And McLaughlin's on the tail of Mini. He's on the tail of him. And I think an overtake is bound to take place on this lap. There is Mick Schumacher. And there we see McLaughlin on Mini. McLaughlin back up into 4th position with 3 laps remaining. You could just see Mick Schumacher ahead. I think McLaughlin will be on the tail of the Prema this time on the next lap. Pan overtakes Fornaroli up to 6th position. More points coming in the way of Ian Danes as it stands. Colton Herta is not far away now. So around about 15 kilometres between now and the checkered flag. Win number 1 coming in the way for Herta. And Spiker will continue to extend their lead at the top of the team's championship. O'Ward has overtaken Fornaroli as well. M Sport are beginning to struggle now because Charles Mallacy is outside the points in 11th. McLaughlin, who was 1.3 behind Schumacher in Sector 2, is going to be within range to attack on the penultimate lap. He may even go for it into the first braking zone. Here he is, McLaughlin on the inside, and the Irishman is back up into the podium places for Simtek. Great pass on Mick Schumacher via McLaughlin on debut after that horrendous mistake towards the end of one of the previous laps when Herta was going by him. Has got himself back up into the top 3. A tremendous effort on debut. And there we see Yiafi attacking Leo Fornaroli. He's down to 9th position. It's all falling apart for Lorenzo Churi's squad. They just need to get a point out of this at least now. Theo McLaughlin in 3rd position. It'll be 3 podiums in a row for Simtek. A pleasing sight for team manager James Knox. They'll move on to 45 points as it stands. The motor will move on to 47. Toyota will get just the 1 point for the pole position that Nick de Vries had bagged earlier. But Spiker will continue to lead the way by 25 points at the top. Final lap of the race for Colton Herta. And we ride on board with Theo McLaughlin, who's on course for a podium finish on his debut. And Herta, meanwhile, after all the trials and errors that he has had, with the likes of AGS in Season 3. He also had a troublesome time with Dams in Season 4. Last season, when he was over in League 2 again, when he was competing for Chip Ganassi. Didn't go right for him either, unfortunately. But here at Spiker, he is able to not only come away with victory, but it's also the championship lead for the man in your picture, who heads through the final corner of the race here in Argentina. Colton Herta wins the League 2 Potrero de los Funes Grand Prix. It's his first win in the championship. It's Spiker's second win of the season. It's the 7th different race winner from 7 races in the Grand Prix World Series in Season 6. Felix Rosenquist finishes in 2nd place for 40 for their first podium finish of the campaign. Theo McLaughlin gets his first podium on debut. Well done to him. A brilliant recovery. Mick Schumacher 4th for Prema. A good haul of points for him. With Gabriel Mini in 5th place. Julian Pan continues to score well for Ian Danes in 6th. Pad towards 7th, with Yiffy 8th. Leo Fornereni gets M Sport up and running with their first points in 9th. Joseph Newgarden bagging a point for Chip Ganassi in 10th. Nick Cassidy on his return just misses out on points in 11th. Sean Malasey, a great effort from him. No points, but it's a 12th place finish for him. Albumba 13th, Philip Salaquada 14th. And then we've got Iyimu Iwaza, Jamie Chadwick, and Scott McLaughlin rounding out all of those to finish. Hertz, I think, ran into issues on the last lap, but he had enough of a margin to hold on to the victory. It's a win for Colton Herter and for Spiker. Herter bags his first win in this series, and doing so despite the problem on the last lap. Felix Rosenquist second, Phil McLaughlin third on debut. Well done to him and to Simtech. Mick Schumacher fourth, Gabriele Mini continuing to score in fifth. Then it's Dorian Pan sixth, Pat towards seventh. Yiffy eighth, Leo Fornereni scores his and M Sports first points in ninth. And Joseph Newgarden taking the final point for Chip Ganassi in 10th place. Nick Cassidy 11th, followed by Sean Malasey, with Earl Bamber in 13th, Philip Salaquada ahead of Iyumo Iwaza, Jamie Chadwick and Scott McLaughlin were the 17 drivers to finish. Those that didn't finish, Roman Grosjean retiring from the lead towards the end. That's a body blow to him. How costly could that be at the end of the season? Joel Eriksson retiring on debut. He could have been on the podium. Steph Dusseldorp, Danny Kafia, Igor Fraga, Ria Huikawa, Luke Browning, Nick De Vries, who we also lost, along with Antonio Giovinazzi. Nick De Vries took the point for pole position and the fast lap point going to Joel Eriksson, which is some consolation for him and for Opel. But it could have been so much more. Another win for Spiker. And this time it is Colton Herter, who at last gets himself onto the top step of the podium at the 44th time of asking. And that win elevates him into the championship lead after 4 rounds in Lead 2. And will there be more to come? Will Spiker come away with more victories further down the line in their pursuit for promotion? We shall see. It's time to run down on the Lead 2 Drivers and Teams Championships in the voice of Topher Smith. And we'll be back for the League 1 race very, very shortly.
So, a first victory for Colton Herter, a first podium as defending champion for Felix Rosenquist, and a first podium on debut for Finn McLaughlin. A lot of reasons for team managers to be happy about that race. But what has it done to the drivers and team standings? We can have a quick look now. Colton Herter's victory has moved him into the lead on 54 points, 11 ahead of Gabriele Mini, who is in second place after continuing to score well in the first part of the season. Nick De Vries a single point for pole position today, but his retirement means he moves down into third in the standings. Felix Rosenquist, his podium puts him up to fourth ahead of Yeye Fei on 31. Roman Grosjean sixth on 30 ahead of Luke Browning, also on 30. And then Igor Fraga on 29. Rio Hirakawa on 19. And then Fionn McLaughlin with his podium puts him into the top 10 straight away on 15 points. As for the team's championship, Spiker building up a bit of a lead once again, 84 points for Ben Hackson's team ahead of Toyota on 59. Still all to play for though, it's still early days in the championship and there are plenty more opportunities for the likes of Toyota to close down that gap. Bimoto KRT third on 47, 2 ahead of Simtech on 45, Prema on 43, Ram Racing on 41, 40 Corsa on 33, Iron Dames on 27, Zack Speed and Mazda on 12 each, ahead of Chip Ganassi, M Sport who finally picked up their first points of the season today, and Opel propping up the field, having picked up a single point today, courtesy of Joel Eriksson's fastest lap. Now we can move on to League 1 and let's remind ourselves of the drivers and team standings heading into today. Raffaele Marcello at the top of the pile on 33 points, only 1 ahead of Alex Palou on 32, the Spaniard, still looking for his first victory this season. Johansson Guven third on 30 points after 2 podiums in a row. Marcus Ericsson fourth on 28 ahead of Jamie Whincup and John-Eric Verne, 2 race winners this season, but they've not picked up any points elsewhere so far. Philip Hansen 7th on 23 ahead of Yuki Tsunoda on 22, Shane van Gisbergen, our reigning champion, on 21, and Will Power into the top 10 on 19 points in the Minardi. As for the team standings, Formital leading the way on 50 points, 11 ahead of Force India on 39, Minardi are on 36 ahead of Lancia on 34, HRT on 32, Ducati on 31, Cupra Kiro on 29, Prost on 25, The French team only 8th in the championship despite winning a race already this season. Onyx Grand Prix 23 ahead of Arrows on 7, and then Jaguar on 2, Cullen on 1, and BAR still on 0 points, and they will be looking to pick up some points here today. Speaking of the BAR team, they are one of 2 teams in League 1 to have made a driver change heading into today, and BAR electing to drop Valentino Rossi from the lineup and bringing on board former Formula 2 champion Teo Potrero for his return to the championship. Matteo Vitelloni, the team manager there, looking to get some points here today to kickstart his season. And over at Jaguar, they have elected to bring Mitch Evans onto the team after he was dropped by the Opel squad in League 2. Evans will be in the seat in place of Kalle Rovanpera, who does stay with the team but in the reserve role. So let's find out how those 2 new drivers have qualified for today and take you through the qualifying results. And it was a very close one for pole position today. Alex Palou in the HRT on pole position, 0.004 ahead of Kamui Kobayashi in the Minardi, very close between those 2. Their teammates Carl Kirkwood and Will Power, they will start on the second row together, ahead of Yuki Tsunoda in 5th, continuing his strong start to the season. Shane van Gisbergen and Nick Tandy, the 2 Ducati, start 6th and 7th, ahead of Scott Dixon, Robin Fries, and Alessio Rivera putting his Lancia into the top 10. Kevin Estre will start from 11th ahead of Marcus Ericsson. Our championship leader Raffaele Marcello, he'll start 13th alongside Sebastian Buemi, the 2 Swiss drivers together on the grid. Philip Hansen 15th in the Onyx ahead of the 2 Prosts of Antonio Felix da Costa and John-Eric Verne. Ayhan Chunguven 3rd in the championship, 18th on the grid in the Lancia, ahead of the 2 Cupra heroes of Jamie Whincup and Oliver Rowland. And at the back, Brendan Hartley, Teo Potrero, Mitch Evans out qualifying his teammate Max Günther on his debut for Jaguar today. And then the 2 Carlins of Stoffel van Dorn and Kevin Magnussen, a team once again struggling in qualifying, and they will look to break into top 10 in the race if they can. So Alex Palou will be looking to convert his pole position today into his first win of the season, but not if the likes of Kamui Kobayashi have anything to say about it. Let's find out how the League 1 race goes and hand it back to Tom Cairns in the commentary box. So Tom, back to you.
Alex Palou has yet to taste victory so far this season. Can he do so and propel himself into the championship lead of League 1 by the time this one is over? The lights are coming on now. Lights are on. Lights off, it's go in Potrero dos Funes, and Palou gets away very, very well ahead of the Minardi. Kamui Kobayashi. Kyle Kirkwood is looking to give chase in 3rd position in the second HRT. Yuki Tsunoda has had a tremendous start to this one, up from 5th to 4th. Power down to 5th place. Shane van Gisbergen has gone to a torrid one from 6th to 7th. His teammate Nick Tandy has gone by. And through goes Kamui Kobayashi on Alex Palou at turn 4. Kamui Kobayashi leads for the first time since he was leading part of the round in Aruba. But can he go for victory and end that 4-season drought? Taupo Season 2 in the League 1 event for Arrows was the last time he stood on the top step. Will that end here today? His compatriot Yuki Tsunoda is also on the move past Alex Palou, is now down to 4th. He's behind Kobayashi, Kirkwood and Tsunoda. Terrible start for the pole sitter. Nick Tandy in 5th place ahead of Will Power, so the Minardi of Will Power is beginning to really drop back now. Van Gisbergen is 7th ahead of Scott Dixon, who's remained in the same spot as where he was on the grid in 8th. Alessio Rivera is up 1 position into 9th, and Robin Fries is 1 place down to 10th. And there is Antonio Felix da Costa in the Prost running in 15th position, 2 places ahead of his teammate Jean-Eric Verne. A long way to go in this one. All 26 cars seem to have got round safe and sound. But there we look at Kobayashi, as Minardi are hoping that they can come away with a victory this time. Assisting 3rd in the championship, but yet to taste victory so far this season. And there we see Alex Palou going for a move on Yuki Tsunoda for 3rd place. He might get him into turn 4 if he can get into the slipstream and pull out to the inside for the right-hander. And that is the HRT through into 3rd place again, so Palou making up for lost time. Kirkwood on the tail of Kobayashi for the lead, further ahead. back straight from Kobayashi and Kirkwood. And there we see Cairns tussling with Marcus Ericsson, who gets through not only him, but almost on Alessio Rivera. But Ericsson's having to hold back and keep hold of the final points playing position. And then we look at Philip Anderson running at 13th. Ahead of him is one of the... Just trying to see who it is in front of him. It might be his teammate Kevin Estra, actually. And Kevin Estra is through on the inside of Jean-Eric Verne for position. So DaCosta's down a couple of positions since we last spoke about him on lap 1. It might have been Raffaele Marcello who got by Verne, thinking of it. 2 done, and it's Kyle Kirkwood who has the fastest up of the race. And there we look at Dixon. He's trying to go for a move on Nick Tandy. And there he is, the Kiwi, attempting to go by. The Brit doesn't do so into turn 4. He might do it into turn number 5. He's still sat behind. And there is Kirkwood, who's less than 4 tenths behind Kobayashi, coming down this back straight. That is the American through on the Japanese, and it's the HRT in the lead. And it's Kyle Kirkwood who leads the way. A man who's not had a lot of luck go for him in the Grand Prix World Series altogether, let alone this season, has yet to finish a race after 3 rounds. And if HRT are going to be fighting for the title, they need to start putting together a run of results. We're on lap 3 out of 37. Alex Palou has got Yuki Tsunoda for company still. Hasn't been able to pull away from him just yet. Marcus Ericsson is through on Alessio Rivera for 9th. The last corner they come towards the line. It's Kirkwood leading Kobayashi. Further back we see Shane van Gisbergen with Will Power. That is for 5th position. Behind Power we can just see Scott Dixon with Nick Tandy. Dixon wasn't able to get through, but Marcello is going by Kevin Estra, or so he thought. Nearly contact made between the Onyx and the Force India. Estra rejoins, or remains, in 13th position. Plenty of battles happening up and down the field. Further back we can see Max Gunter in 25th place ahead of Stoffel van Dorn at the back end of the field, but at least no one has had to put in for repairs at this early stage. And there's a problem for Marcello. It looks like the Swiss has stopped on the circuit. The race winner in Curitiba is out on lap number 4. The championship leader goes no further. We are destined to get a new championship leader after this round. I mean, Palou with the pole position point he has already got is now tied on points with him. But with Marcello's win, he's still ahead on countback. Oh, and that's Minardi going into the pit lane at this early stage. That's Will Power, who was very fortunate to find a gap in the traffic to make his way into the pit lane. And that is not good news for team manager Giacomo Pagliaro. There is the Lancero riding on board with. of Ayunchen Guven, with the Onyx of Kevin Estra just ahead of him. Behind Guven is Jean-Luc Verne in the Prost. There's Plo in third, Snowder fourth, Van Gisbergen fifth. Now we see Sebastian Buemi going ahead of Robin Freins. Buemi up into the points now. BAR are the only team this season yet to score. They've made a driver change since the last round at Curitiba. Valentino Rossi has had to make way for the Formula 2 champion of 2023, Théo Pourchaire. He's back in the Grand Prix Series for the first time in a long time. Season 4 was the last we saw of him. And there we see Brendan Hartley in the Arrows, slowing down with an engine failure. It's not getting any better for the Kiwi. Marcus Johansson's woes still continuing to mount in their push for a title charge. Hartley goes no further in this race. Pourchaire's last appearance in the Grand Prix Series was in Phillip Island at the end of Season 4. There we have a look at Van Gisbergen, who's overtaken Tsunoda up to 4th position. Van Gisbergen coming into his zone now in this one. Two drivers out of the race then, Brendan Hartley and Raffaele Marciello. And there we look at Da Costa, who thought about going for a move on Philip Hansen, nearly got overtaken by the Cooper Kiro of Jamie Wincott. And there is Guven going through on the Onyx of Kevin Estra. Now Guven, who finished on the podium in the last 2 rounds, is going to take an almighty effort, I think, to repeat that here. Kirkwood continues to lead. The gap between him and Biashi is coming up to 2 seconds. We've got Plo ahead of Van Gisbergen and Tsunoda. And then we look at Ericsson behind Nick Tandy. There we look at Kirkwood, and further back there is Verne. There was an overtake going on ahead of him. Might have been. Look on the timing tower. Well, there is definitely an overtake happening further ahead. I think that might be. It's not Freins going through ahead of Guven, is it? Hard to tell from that angle. It might have been Buemi through on Rivera. So Sebastian Buemi is continuing to make his way up the order for BAR. As is Guven with Freins. Or so he thought. Freins is able to fend him off. We'll have a look at the setups now for the teams, now that the race is calming down. Those have gone for the neutral setups. Or for the neutral setup. As we look at Scott Dixon, who's running in 8th position by overtaking Marcus Ericsson. Those have gone for the neutral setup. Ducati, BAR, Prost, Carlin and Jaguar. Those going for the mid-downforce setup are Minardi, Force India, Cooper Kiro and Lancia. And those going for the mid-top speed setup are Onyx, Arrows, Fomitel, HRT. So it looks like HRT may have gone for the right setup here with both cars, considering where they are in the field. There we see a pass from one of the BARs. That is Teo Potrero through on Kevin Estra. There we see the two Carlins at the back. Kevin Magnussen and Stoff Van Dorn. Will Power had to come in for that stop. And you can see a huge traffic jam as we ride on board with Oliver Rowland. This overtakes galore. This involves teams at the back end of the championship. We're on lap 8 out of 37. Won't be too long before we start seeing pit stops. Nearly 3 seconds the margin between Kirkwood and Kobayashi. Next Alex Blow in the top 3. As it stands, it'll be Alex Palou leading the championship after 4 rounds in League One. The way things are going, it'll be HRT leaping up from 5th to the top. Rivera through on Boemi for 9th position in the Lancia. Teo Potrero has made up another place at the expense of Robin Fryne, so he's coming through the field nicely on his return. Stoff Van Dorn running in 23rd place. It's been a slow start to the season for Carlin. Just 1 point to their name, with Van Dorn getting that 10th place finish last time out in Curitiba. Palou locking up in front of Shane van Gisbergen, which won't have helped his cause. Last corners of the lap. I think Palou will hold on for now. He has lost ground to Kamui Kobayashi. Dixon is ahead of Tandy into 6th position at turn number 2. Marcus Ericsson is next to be within range of the Ducati. That's another position lost for the Brit. Well, 10 out of 37. Just 2 retirements so far. Brendan Hartley and Raffaele Marciello. We're going to be celebrating victory in the Grand Prix Series for the first time. He's yet to finish on the podium in this series, let alone win a race. It looks like Will Power's made up a couple of positions now on the 2 Carlins. Next driver in line will be Oliver Rowland, who's stuck behind the Jaguar of Max Gunter, who's got a new teammate for this round. He's Mitch Evans, who was fired by Opel. He's in place of the departing Calais Robert Perra. We've got a pit stop now at Ducati, with Shane van Gisbergen taking the opportunity to come in for his first of 2 stops. Marcus Ericsson is also in for Fomatel. Teo Potrero also coming in for VAR. Shane van Gisbergen will come out behind pretty much the whole field, to be fair. Oliver Rowland is in for Cooper Kiro. It looks like Alyssa Herrera has gone through on Nick Tandy. Is the Brit running a heavier fuel load compared to the others? Don't know for certain, but it feels like he may well be. Van Gisbergen rejoins in 19th. He's ahead of Kevin Magnussen. So his teammate Will Power is coming back through the field after having to make that early stop. He's not in the pits at the end of this lap. Then we look at Shane van Gisbergen, who's got the Jaguar of Max Gunther in the way. A pass from Stoff van Don on Kevin Magnussen. Dixon in for Arrows, as is Rivera for Lancia. Will Power still fighting it out with Max Gunther out of the last corners of the lap. Van Gisbergen is through on Gunther at last, but he will have lost time being stuck behind him on that lap. There we see Kamui Kobayashi. He is still gunning for his first win for 4 seasons. Taupo Season 2 was when he took his last win. He also won a couple of times for Arrows in the first ever Grand Prix World Series race in Kyalami. The other time being in Estoril. Will we see any more drivers coming in at the end of this lap for their first stops? Well, that's an overtake from Will Power there. Muscling his way through on Jamie Wincott. We're going to see a replay of him doing it here. And not hanging around and doing very well not to run into Antonio Felix da Costa. With Kyle Kirkwood, who's heading down towards turn number 4 on lap 13. And about a third of the way through now. And Chingovan and Jean Infern are both in the pit lane for Lancia and Prost. Mitch Evans comes in for Jaguar. Shane van Gisbergen coming back through on the inside of Will Power. That is for 11th position on the road. Now, he may be passing these cars for fun here, Van Gisbergen, but the problem he's going to have is losing ground potentially to the likes of Tsunoda, who he was fighting with, and Alex Palou. Dixon, after his stop, has overtaken Kevin Magnussen for 17th position. From Marcus Ericsson on Stoff van Dorn now. And Kobayashi's through on Kirkwood. What's happened to Kyle Kirkwood? Has he gone into the pit lane? Or has he suffered some form of technical issue? We need to see what's going on. I think it might be because Kirkwood's coming into the pit. It's a brake problem for Kirkwood. Now the good news for him is that can be refueled, or the car can be refueled whilst the brake problem is being looked into. Kobayashi takes over the lead. But Kirkwood will have lost time en route to the pit lane with that issue. Buemi is also in for BAR. Hansen in for Onyx. There goes Dixon on Van Dorn. Rivera. Done to that. There's also made his way into the pit lane for Jaguar. He's back out now in 24th and last position. And there we see Kamui Kobayashi in the lead. Guven going through on Van Dorn. Magnussen, sorry. Guven through on Magnussen for position. Alex Palou running in second position. And Kirkwood stop. Left him in 6th place. Buemi makes his way past Magnussen. And a problem for Yuki Tsunoda. Can he get back to the pit lane? He can, you know. Very, very lucky there was Yuki Tsunoda. It was a gearbox issue that he was nursing, but it broke down at exactly the right moment for him. Lucky to stay in this one. Fines is in, Estra is in. Jamie Winkup has also gone into the pit lane for Cooper Kiro. And now we look at Buemi. Tsunoda, who's rejoined ahead of Ayunchin Guven, who is really struggling out there at the moment. You saw his lines being all squirrely and weird. It looks like he may have got a handle on the situation now. Or was that Buemi? I think it was Guven. No, it is Guven. Continuing to lead the race for now, at least. Kyle Kirkwood has got back up into 4th place after his issue. I'll probably say now that Kobayashi and Palou are both doing the one stop. Rivera is now ahead of Estra, muscling his way through. Further back there is Kevin Magnussen, who doesn't really put up a fight with Philip Hansen. He's now got Mitch Evans on his tail. And Theo Bolcher is having issues of his own in the BAR. Is he suffering with some form of issue with his car? Because he's not exactly going through the corners as sweetly as he normally would be. He's got Sebastian Buemi behind, who of which he won't want to hold up. And there we see Will Power, who's having to pit again for his first scheduled stop. There we go with Robin Fines. Antonio Fitz-Acosta, who has yet to finish a race so far this season. He's got Kevin Estra in front. Kirkwood has moved in front of Tandy. And I think it's because Tandy has come into the pit lane for his first stop at the end of lap 16. There's a pass from the Cooper Kira Jamie Whincup on Kevin Magnussen. Straight in P11. There is Will Power. On lap 17, we've seen some squabbling further back down the field towards the back. Kobayashi's never been no such worries with his car. 3 seconds clear over Alex Palou, who's doing his utmost to keep up with him. There is Buemi, tussling with Antonio Felix da Costa. And we've got pit lane activity over at Minardi. In comes Kamui Kobayashi. Further back we see Ian Chinguven and Antonio Felix da Costa, who's causing all sorts of issues. And there goes the Cooper Kira. Oh, that's contact between the Lancia, and I think one of the pros got involved as well. Jean-Luc Verne came together with the Lancia. It's down to 16th place either way, but now we've got a huge queue of cars who have such. Oh, and that's one of the. Is that da Costa? That's da Costa off the circuit. Came back on into the path of the traffic coming by. Now, I wonder if that will go down as an unsafe rejoin from the Portuguese. There we see Friends looking up at the penultimate turn of the racetrack. No further action will be taken on da Costa's mishap. It's all kicking off as Magnussen makes his way into the pit lane for the first time, I believe, in this race. At least it won't have anything to do with what's going on here. Guven goes in front of Roland. Kirkwood is now in the lead with Kobayashi and Palou both pitting at the end of the previous lap. They should be going to the end. See the American back into the lead of that brake bomb he had earlier. Still just 2 drivers out, Brendan Hartley and Raffaele Marciello. Now Kirkwood will pit in again before this race is over. Kobayashi's moved in front of Alessia Rivera into 5th place. Da Costa has been suffering a suspension problem. He was due into the pits anyway. That suspension problem has cost him time. It's unlikely he's going to finish in the points the way his race has been going. There goes Verne on the Cooper Kiro of Oliver Rowland. Van Gisbergen bringing in a strong 2nd place. He's 9th in the championship coming into this. And there is Dixon running in third, having a really strong drive for once. 4 points to his name this season. The gap between Kirkwood and Gisbergen has increased to more than 6 seconds. As we've now entered the 20th lap into the second half of this race. Max Gunther in 20th place in the Jaguar behind Jamie Whincup. Jaguar with a lot of work to do after their tough start to the season. There is Nick Tunley on the BAR. Does not go by this time around. Down the back straight they come to turn number 4. Ducati goes on by. Kimura Kobayashi has passed Marcus Ericsson for 4th. Who's continuing to have a race to the gap so far at the back right now. And there is Whincup through on Evans for 16th position. And we look at Dixon and Kobayashi. In 6th and 7th. Rivera and Ericsson continuing to swap places. And Guven is still having problems passing Théo Pourchaire. Pulls out the slipstream. Having to duck back in. There's no way past the Frenchman. Will Power comes in for the 3rd time in this race, and Oliver Rowland is having to come in again. Now Dixon, who's already been passed by Kimura Kobayashi on this lap, has got Alex Palou on his tail now. Remember, Kobayashi and Palou came in for the 1 stop. They can go to the end. It's taken too long, really, to make their way through the traffic. I just think with Kirkwood being on fresher tyres by the time he makes his 2nd stop, Kobayashi and Palou are going to be easy prey to him. In the lead by over 10 seconds on Shane van Gisbergen. And there is Pourchaire, who's already lost a couple of places on this lap. Has now got Philip Hansen right on his gearbox. Hansen is through into 14th place ahead of the BAR. Hansen has not had the best of starts this season. Having said that, well, he's had a 4th, a 10th and a 5th to his name, so it is a respectable start. We want to be fighting for podiums more often, and he isn't able to do that in this one. But considering the number of cars left in this one, it's going to take an almighty effort for him to come away with a championship point at least. Kirkwood is in the lead as we speak. We've still got the second round of pit stops to come. Kamui Kobayashi in third position behind Shane van Gisbergen. The gap is less than 2.7 seconds between the pair. And now we've got a pit stop over at Lancia. That will be Ayunchin Guven heading in for his second and final stop. And Estra slows in the Onyx. An engine failure has put him out again. Only the third driver to retire from this race on lap number 23. Kirkwood is having no such worries. He's yet to finish a race this season, remember. A race win would not put him into the lead. He would make a gigantic rise up the order. Now the last corner onto the pit straight to complete another lap. And there is Kobayashi on the inside of Van Gisbergen. And he's through into P2. Great move from the Japanese on the two-stop. Now he's got to try and get down the gap on Kyle Kirkwood ahead before he pits in. Tsunoda enters the pit lane for his last stop, as is Alessio Rivera. Robin Fines in also for Force India. Tsunoda will rejoin the race in P11. It's behind Philip Hansen. And now we look at Van Gisbergen and Palou for third place on the road. There we see, oh, Power has wrecked his front wing and he's having to pit in again. Pit stop number 4 for Will Power. It just hasn't been his day at all. And now Rivera, who's attempting to go by, and Vern Slows in the Prost. Once again, reliability issues have hit the French squad. And the race winner in Aruba goes no further in this and is blocking the traffic. He's out of everyone's way now, but Vern goes no further in this race. And Shane van Gisbergen came into the pits for Ducati, which releases Alex Palou. Now, does Van Gisbergen get out in front of Tsunoda? He should do. Tsunoda gets by Hansen at the last braking zone, but Van Gisbergen is a long way ahead of him. Rivera overtakes Potrero up to 11th position, which will become 10th, because Philip Hansen has made his way into the pits. Kyle Kirkwood continuing to lead. Kobayashi is getting the gap down though. Kyle Kirkwood has got a decision to make on whether he's going to come in at the end of this lap. We're right on board with Kamui Kobayashi. Seconds is the margin at the beginning of lap 26. Low is another 3 seconds back. And Dixon has come into the pit lane whilst Power has gone for another spin to further compound his misery. Continuing to have problems. He'll rejoin behind Alex Palou on the road. He's a lap down from these two, remember. He's back on his way. He's in 22nd and last place. And that's Rivera slowing in the Lancia as well. Unless he can get that back to the pit lane. He can't, and it's not going to be a points finish this time for Alessio Rivera. 2 non-finishes in a row for the Italian. Reliability is beginning to kick in now into the cars. That is Da Costa going through on Stoffel van Don, and he's up into 13th. Philip Hansen, who's just pitted, is heading through also on the Carlin. And now we've got the all-important pit stop at HRT. Kyle Kirkwood is in for his final stop, which will see Kamui Kobayashi go through into the lead with 11 laps remaining. Palou will go through into second. Kyle Kirkwood, is he going to go in front of Buemi? He should do. He's a long way ahead of Buemi, who comes into the pit lane. So it's a 3-way fight for the for victory here at Potrero de los Funes in League One. And there is Alex Palou, whose only victory in this series came at Buenos Aires in Season 4. And he's not going to make it. Victory for HRT today because he's slowing down with an issue. Alex Palou is out of the race. And he will not be leading the championship after this round either. A rear suspension failure sidelines the Spaniard. Kirkwood goes back into second place, and Shane van Gisbergen is in third for Ducati. There we look at Buemi, who's now up into 7th place at the expense of Palou's retirement. He's now got Ericsson, Freins and Guven, who've moved up positions in the points. The only Lancia left in the race is in 10th. He's Cairns, who is gunning for his second points finish in a row. We'll look at Kevin Magnussen, who's sat back in 19th. The only driver behind him is Will Power. Kobayashi in the lead. The car behind him is his teammate Will Power, who is a lap down, and he's on fresher tyres compared to Kobayashi. Kirkwood is getting the gap down. It was 9.4 seconds in sector 2, and we'll get an updated gap in a second. It's now 7.9, and Kyle Kirkwood has posted a new fast lap of the race. And Van Dorn is out of this one. His engine has expired. There's another reliability failure for Perry Brown's team, who are not going to come away with a points finish in this. Unless Van Dorn can get that car back to the pit lane, his race will come to an end. And Théo Pourchaire is having to come into the pits in the BAR. That is not a scheduled stop. And Van Dorn is coming towards the last braking zone of the lap. And he stopped just before pit entry, so he is out of the race as well. It's a shame for Carlin of that point they picked up in Curitiba, which was much needed, but they are lacking pace right now. And there is Will Power unlapping himself from Kamui Kobayashi. So Kobayashi doing perhaps the right thing to let him go, because he's going a lot quicker. But that's cost him time, and Kirkwood will most certainly be getting down the gap. And Shane van Gisbergen in third place. He's already picked up a podium this season at Road America. Stands with the positions as they are. It is Kamui Kobayashi who will be leading the Drivers' Championship. And there's a pit stop also at Fonmetal as Marcus Ericsson has had to come in, and that will cost him points. So Kobayashi will move up from 11th into the championship lead as it stands. But I think his hold on the lead is going to go away in a moment, because the way Kirkwood has got the gap down is humongous. And that's a broken front wing for Kevin Magnussen, and that sums up Carlin's day. Allow Will Power to move up the order, but this is the battle we want to be focusing on. There's Kirkwood. He's going to go for it on Kobayashi. Kyle Kirkwood passes the Japanese to snatch the lead of the League One Potrero de los Funes Grand Prix. Is the HRT pilot going to bag his first ever win? 7 laps remaining. Can he keep hold of it? Well, with Kobayashi dropping to second place in this race, he'll move on to 35 championship points. With Van Gisbergen on course for a podium again, it's going to be Kobayashi. In fact, no, it'll be Van Gisbergen leading the championship as it stands. He'll be top of the table with 36 points. Kobayashi will be on 35. Sonoda will be on 34 in third place. There'll be Marcello and Pelot tied with 33 points each. And then you've got Ayunchin Guven, who, as it stands, is on course for 2 championship points, who'll be on 32. So it's so close at the top of the table. And Max Gunther, he's heading through on his teammate Mitch Evans. This is the battle for 12th place between the two Jaguar pilots, who are not destined to score here. But you never know, it could be a few more dramas in these final laps. Kyle Kirkwood is absolutely leaving Kamui Kobayashi for dead, and Kobayashi's second place is not even secure yet either, because Van Gisbergen, who is another one of those on the 2 stops, will be getting the gap down. The gap between Kobayashi and Van Gisbergen is 10 seconds with 6 laps left. So really, I think Van Gisbergen needs to take a couple of seconds out of Kobayashi's margin on each lap if he is to finish in second place. And there we look further back. That is Marcus Ericsson, who's on the tail of Mitch Evans. Kyle Kirkwood, who would be coming up to lap Will Power, that is. Look at Yuki Tsunoda, who's got Scott Dixon for company. Marcus Ericsson's got by Mitch Evans for 13th. Not too long before he goes by Max Gunther as well. Philip Hansen in 10th position in the Onyx. The 4-point scores out of 4 this season, as it stands anyway. Kirkwood is continuing to leave Kobayashi for dead now. And look at Théo Pourchaire, who's back in 16th position, having made that extra trip to the pit lane. He's got Antonio Fitz da Costa in front of him. 7 drivers out of the race: Stoffel Van Dorn, Alex Palou, Alessio Rivera, Jean-Luc Verne, Kevin Estra, Brendan Hartley and Raffaele Marciello. Kobayashi Van Gisbergen's gap is 7.8 seconds at the beginning of the lap, and Robin Fries is the latest having to make an extra pit stop. So he was running in 8th place ahead of Ayunchin Guven, and that's more points down the drain for Ed Spencer's Force India team. That will promote Jamie Whincup back into the points. Marcus Ericsson's got in front of Max Gunther, so he's up into 11th, and that's Théo Pourchaire going by Antonio Fitz da Costa. Frines rejoins in 14th ahead of Pourchaire. Right aboard with Van Gisbergen. .8 seconds between Kobayashi and Van Gisbergen. We'll see what the gap is when they head over the line. Only 4 laps left for Van Gisbergen to close in on the Japanese. And Hansen is out in the Onyx. 9th place, no longer his. First retirement of the season for the Brit. Allows Whincup up to 9th and Ericsson up to 10th. Ericsson right on Whincup's tail. it's a gearbox failure for Hansen. So that's both of the Onyxes out of the race now. And an engine blow up behind Kobayashi. Now who's that's blown up? We saw some smoke behind Kobayashi. Now that is not going to be Shane van Gisbergen. I think that might be Kevin Magnussen in the Carlin, because he's the only driver down a lap on everyone. We'll see in a moment, but I did see some smoke behind Kobayashi. But it's not Kobayashi's car. We'll find out in a moment. I'm pretty sure it was Kevin Magnussen's Carlin going up in smoke. There it is. There is Magnussen pulling out just before the end. And parking up just behind Brendan Hartley. So neither of Perry Brown's cars making it to the checker flag. The gap was 5.6 seconds between Kobayashi and Van Gisbergen. Now it's down to 5.3, so Van Gisbergen I think is consigned to a third place finish, which he'll happily take. It's continued Ducati's fine start to the season, despite that hiccup at Curitiba. Ericsson, who's left wing cut for dead, is trying to get the gap down on Guven, but he's going to run out of time to do anything about Guven. I think Guven is safe from Ericsson. Before he had that issue, Ericsson could have been leading the championship. There we see Porsche on the tail of Mitch Evans. That's a move from Robin Freins on Max Gunther. He's back into 11th place. Now Freins has got enough time to go after Jamie Whincup to snatch a point out of this. Dixon running in 4th place, ahead of Sonoda. Started this one in 8th position, making his way up to 4th. But Kyle Kirkwood is on his way to his first ever Grand Prix World Series win. It'll be 8 different winners from 8 after 4 rounds in Season 6. The Grand Prix World Series never fails to disappoint. 2 laps to go for Kyle Kirkwood. Kobayashi, in terms of his margin over Van Gisbergen, it's down to 4.4. But surely Kobayashi has done enough to hold on ahead of the Kiwi. Sebastian Buemi is on course to bag BAR's first points of the season. It won't be enough to get them out of the bottom 3, but it will see them leapfrog Jaguar and Carlin. Robin Freins has got himself back into the points now for Ed Spencer's Force India team. There's Van Gisbergen. There we see Max Gunther's got Theo Porsche for company. Porsche goes through on the Jaguar and into P12. A nice overtake from the Frenchman. He's got time to go after Whincup, but he won't have time to go after Freins. And there we see Van Gisbergen. He's got Kobayashi in his sights, but he's going to run out of time to do anything about the Minardi. But you never know with 1 lap remaining. Von Mattel, as it stands, will still be in the lead of the team's championship, but HRT will be leaping up into 2nd place thanks to this man, Kyle Kirkwood, the man who has had hardly any luck go for him throughout his time in this series. Whether it been at Arrows, at Chip Ganassi or at HRT. Just 2 points finishes. To his credit, out of 26 starts. And today, I say 2 points finishes out of 26 starts is actually 3, if you include his points finished with Arrows. But either way, this man has had the book thrown at him so many times. He's had reliability issues, hit him so many times. But on today, at a new venue in the Grand Prix World Series, Kyle Kirkwood has been able to master the tango here in Argentina. And he's about to celebrate his first win in this series at the 27th attempt. Kyle Kirkwood comes out of the last corner to win the League One Potrero de los Funes Grand Prix. HRT on the top step for the first time since Scott McLaughlin last season at Indianapolis. Kamui Kobayashi is going to hold on to finish in second place for Minardi. That is his first podium of the season. Shane van Gisbergen gets his second podium finish. And Scott Dixon will leap up considerably in the standings by finishing in 4th place for Arrows. Yuki Tsunoda continues a brilliant start to the season in 5th place. And Sebastian Buemi gets BAR's first points of the season in 6th. And then we've got Nick Tandy, who will hold on ahead of Hyunjin Guven, who I believe has got Marcus Ericsson right on his tail. Because Ericsson's got the gap down to 1.8 seconds in Sector 2. But Guven has done enough. He finishes 8th, Ericsson 9th, and Friends will take the last point in 10th place. And we've got Théo Pourchaire carving his way through the field on his way to P11. That's a good effort from him. Then we've got Jamie Whincup, Mats Gunter, Mitch Evans, Antonio Felix da Costa. And then we've got Will Power, who has crossed over the line in 17th position and a lap down. The man finishing in 16th position will be Oliver Rowland, having pitted in multiple times in this one. It's been another day to forget for him and for Cooper Kiro. No points for the team once again. They haven't scored. Well, for 2 races. Well, they haven't scored in this round. It's the first round this season that they've not scored. It's a win for Kyle Kirkwood. It's his first in the Grand Prix World Series. HRT are back on the map. Kamui Kobayashi 2nd for Minardi. Shane van Gisbergen 3rd for Ducati. Then Scott Dixon in 4th for Arrows, followed by Yuki Tsunoda. Sebastian Buemi gets BAR's first points of the campaign in 6th. Nick Tandy 7th for Hyunjin Guven. Marcus Ericsson 9th. And Robin Friends snatching the final point for Force India in 10th place. Théo Pourchaire in 11th on his return. Jamie Whincup 12th. Max Gunter 13th. Mitch Evans 14th, followed by Antonio Felix da Costa and Oliver Rowland. Will Power 17th on the lap down. It's been a day to forget for him. He pitted 4 times in the race. Then we've got the drivers that did not finish. Kevin Magnussen out. Philip Hansen also retiring. Stoff Van Don making it 2 Collins out of the race. And we've also lost Alex Blow, who could have been the winner today. Alessio Rivera, Jean-Luc Verne, Kevin Estra, Brendan Hartley, and Raffaele Marciello were also the ones that did not finish. The pole position point going to Alex Blow. The fast lap point going to today's race winner, Kyle Kirkwood. A day to remember for HRT. They are very much in the running for the team's championship, and Kyle Kirkwood's win means that he is now off the bottom, or towards the bottom, of the 3 non-finishes out of 3. It's race victory here. And he leapfrogs into the top 10 in the drivers' standings. In terms of the championship leader, by finishing on the podium, Shane van Gisbergen is the new championship leader. And he is now just a point clear over Kamui Kobayashi. It's so close at the top. And with Sebring next around the corner, it should be a very, very fun affair. I would be sure of it. It's time to run down on the League One Drivers and Teams Championships in the voice of Topher Smith, and I'll see you for the next round in Sebring in a couple of weeks' time. Topher, over to you.
First time race winner in League 2 and a first time race winner in League 1, and they are both American. Colton Herter and Kyle Kirkwood both picking up their first victories today, so congratulations to both of them. But how has their race affected the standings in League 1? We can take a quick look now, and it is very close across the top 10. Shane van Gisbergen, not yet a race winner this season, but consistent point scoring has put him into the lead on 36 points. And then all the way down to 10th place, only 11 points in it. Kamui Kobayashi, Ahanshan Guven, Raffaele Marcello, Alex Palou, Yuki Tsunoda, Marcus Ericsson, Kyle Kirkwood, Jamie Whincup and John-Eric Verne all in the top 10, separated by 11 points. This has been such a close start to the season so far. And in the teams, it's not quite as close as that, but still very close indeed. Formital continues to lead the way on 62 points, 3 ahead of HRT, who move up into second, having picked up their first win of the season today. Minardi on 54 points, 2 ahead of Ducati on 52. Force India down to 5th on 40 points, ahead of Lancia on 38. Cooper Kiro on 29. Prost on 25. Onyx on 23. Arrows on 19, getting a better haul of points today. And then in the relegation zone as it stands, BAR on 8, picking up their first points of the season. Jaguar on 2 and Carlin on a 1. What a start to the season this has been so far. So next time we will have the first ever Grand Prix of the Americas, which was a manager voted track, and it will be at the Sebring circuit in Florida. That will be making its debut on the Grand Prix World Series calendar, and we can't wait to bring you the action there. So until then, thank you so much for tuning in. It's always a pleasure to have your company. I'm Topher Smith. Take care.